Hi, I'm Jess.
Hi, I'm Kristen.
And this is ReDIScover, a conversation where we travel through everything that makes up the essence of who we are and how to live authentically and imaginatively.
Here, we invite you to join us as we explore and discuss a little bit of, well, everything.
From Disney to cultivating your most authentic life to deepening your relationships and talking about the real stuff.
We hope you'll find this a space that speaks to you, encourages you, and brings a little bit of magic into your day.
Hi there, I'm Jess.
Hi, I'm Kristen.
Welcome back to this week's episode of ReDIScover. This week is going to be a special dedication to all of you who followed us on the DISboards back in the day. We talked a little bit about this in our very first episode, which I'll link in the show notes below. But basically, on the DISboards around 2011 to 2013, we wrote trip reports about our adventures in Walt Disney World.
These trip reports were the full devolvement of our sleep-deprived, Disney-happy little souls. They were an amalgamation of our friendship and everything that we loved to do. A follower suggested that we do this episode. Her name is Kelly. Her Instagram is at KNShaw3. We will link her in the show notes. Thank you, Kelly, for suggesting this. But basically, what we're going to do today is what we're calling DISboards Reacts. We're going to go through our two most beloved trip reports, and we've chosen 3 chapters, and we are going to read them for the first time since they were written back in 2011, and we are going to give you our genuine reaction to whatever frumpy ridiculousness is about to unfold.
I hope you guys enjoy this episode, even if you did not read these trip reports back in the day.
If you're a Disney fan or if you're not, this will make you laugh. I guarantee it.
It's definitely our younger selves channeled in a episode right here.
And I cannot stress this enough. We have not read these since they were written and posted in 2011. So it has been going on a decade since we have seen or read any of this.
Let us transport you back to 2011.
Jess, what are we starting with?
All right, so the first trip report we are going to talk about today and read an entry from is
The Port Report, Frumpin' Around the World with the Bathrobe Princesses from January 2011.
So this was the trip that was taken during my senior year of high school with Kristen, myself, and our friend Vicky, as well as my mom. We stayed at the yacht club, we went to all 4 parks, and after obsessing over Disney at school and just talking about it every day, we finally made our way there. This particular episode goes into the story of how we deemed ourselves, quote unquote, the bathrobe princesses, and we walked around the yacht club in these bathrobes, singing for all of the folks around the resort. And it's one of the entries that was really a defining one for our trip reports on the DISboards. This chapter is Chapter 11, titled The Bathrobe Princesses from January 15th, 2011. Yes, in this chapter, you finally get to discover why we are the Bathrobe Princesses. It's not really an ordinary story. It resulted due to our craziness, sense of adventure, and a little Disney magic, of course. So let us begin. We left Animal Kingdom, and since it was a couple hours after closing now, there was a bus waiting to take people to whatever resort they were staying at. First, we went to the Swan. Someone had this conversation on the bus. I would never stay at the Swan. Swans are mean. Yeah, one time I got chased by a swan. Oh my God. I have to say, I do not remember that conversation.
That sounds so traumatizing.
It's funny. Then we got to our resort, and the bus driver announces, "Welcome to the Yacht Club." Emphasis on the ch sound. Go ahead, try it, hear how it sounds. Needless to say, this name stuck with us for the rest of the trip. I love the Yacht Club. We still call it the Yacht Club to this day.
I think a lot of people started calling it that because of this trip report too.
Yeah, so thanks, bus driver, for your contribution to our whole brand. We went up to the room, and Kristen and I did a little Diz work and decorated our windows with window markers. They were really cute. That was a whole thing that people used to do is they used to decorate the windows. They'd bring like window paint or decorations for their rooms and set it up. So we definitely hopped on that trend.
Yeah.
So then we thought that it would be a good idea to go swimming, even though it was a little chilly out. It was January, by the way.
I don't know how we did this.
We got changed and got ready to head down to the pool. But before we left, Vic found 2 bathrobes in the closet, and she thought it would be a nice warm thing to wear when we got out of the pool. We took the bathrobes and went down to the yacht club lobby and explored the resort. We took some pictures and strolled outside, and Stormalong Bay was closed. Wham!
Wham! We used to say that. Wham!
That was our crying sound.
That is tragic.
Wow, I'm really sad for us. Vic and Kristen were very disappointed. They wished they could have snuck in, but of course they didn't. Smiley face.
We definitely thought about it.
At this point, the 2 bathrobes were on Vic and Kristen. They loved the bathrobes, which seemed to be the center of attention that night.
It's a really nice way of saying people were staring at these 2 absolute wackos walking around the resort in
This
a bathrobe.
fancy yacht club
At
resort.
8 or 9 p.m. when everyone's still awake.
We went on the little beach down to the dock near the lighthouse in a little courtyard, in the lobby, the gift shop, ... all over the place. So these bathrobes turned out to be a lot of fun. We got some looks, but who cares? We're in Disney.
That is our whole brand.
But sadly, I didn't have one because there were only 2. So we went to ask for a robe for me at the front desk. The cast member who actually used to live on a street near Kristen had our robe sent up to the room.
What?
Wow.
I don't remember
Must have been a
that.
Buffalo local.
That's fun.
So we went there to wait. We stopped at the club level to get some snacks. Of course, we love to eat.
Duh.
There were mini cupcakes, Oreo bonbons, and raspberry cheesecakes, which were all to die for.
Oh, like the Oreo bonbons from Cape May.
Yeah, I'm jealous of ourselves.
Jess used to do this thing when we would be eating something good and she would like stop eating right before she was done and go, I'm sad, it's almost over.
I hate when my food is almost gone. I still do that to this day. We were back to the room just in time. Illuminations was starting. Oh, sad.
A moment of silence for the loss of the greatest fireworks show.
We could see illuminations right from our balcony. It was so beautiful. I lined my iPod illumination soundtrack with the fireworks since we couldn't hear it from our room. And it was almost perfectly aligned. Can you say, you know you're a dizzer when? Ha ha ha. That's so pure. I have to admit, I definitely have lined up Disney soundtracks to fireworks shows from like my porch at my old apartment and everything. So I was just starting young. By the time it was over, the new robe was here. So off we went on another adventure. We pondered, where should we go next? So we explored even more of the resort. We saw the barbershop, the fitness center, arcade, and yes, we wore our robes the whole time. In public. Yes, I know. Eventually, we crossed the border of the Yacht and Beach Club, and we found ourselves at Beaches and Cream. We were in a very princessy mood, and for some reason, royalty is associated with British accents. So we were using our accents in full swing. By the way, we are fully American, so...
Yep.
The greeter cast member at Beaches and Cream found us very amusing. Her name was Lacey, and my mom told her we thought we were princesses. She said, why, hello, princesses, are you going to sing for us? And my mom goes, you asked for it.
Poor Lacey didn't know. She wasn't ready.
Right then and there, at the entrance of Beaches and Cream, we gave a concert of Disney songs in our bathrobes. We sang A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes First, A Whole New World Next, Someday My Prince Will Come, but we forgot the words to that one, LOL.
Sorry, Snow White.
And lastly, Beauty and the Beast. And we never rehearsed them, so we had to make up some on-the-spot harmonies. It sounded pretty decent, I hope. We loved making up harmonies because we were in chorus in high school, so that was very on brand for us.
Yeah, we were very into the a cappella.
People who were waiting for their reservation all watched us. We were the Disney entertainment. A lot of passerbys took a glance, too, to see what was going on. When we finished, everybody clapped for us. It was very exciting. And of course, at the end, we told them all, "Thank you for being here today." Princess Diaries quote.
We're all just out here trying to be Queen Clarice.
I mean, who wouldn't want to? Some boy asked us, "Are you guys just friends, or like, do you work here?" He was very impressed with us. Him and his girlfriend were chorus geeks themselves, so he really enjoyed our little performance. A little family was waiting for their reservation too, and the kids loved listening. They were all swaying to the music, and it was one of the little girls' birthday. Her name was Izzy, so we sang happy birthday to her. We said goodbye, and while we left, all of the families nearby complimented us. I love how everyone is so nice and cheerful in Disney. So pure.
So pure.
Then we went into the little back area of the yacht club and sang some more songs since we were in the singing mood. We sang Part of Your World, and a lady came up to us and raved, "You girls are so fantastic!" And she was so excited. Ha ha. Simple things bring joy to people, and I love it. We also sang songs like Jolly Holiday, Zippity Doo Dah, When You Wish Upon a Star, etc. Any Disney song you can think of, really. We walked and found the quiet pool, singing all the way there. But after all that, we actually never went swimming. And we decided to head in for the night. We were all like, "What just happened?" It was truly a magical moment that we will always remember. And that's true. We're still talking about it 10 years later.
Yes.
What a great memory to make with your friends at Disney.
It sort of feels somewhat like it was yesterday and somewhat like it never even really happened.
Or like it was in another lifetime.
I'm so glad we have this to remember it and video footage of it. And I didn't remember about like that cast member being from here and what everyone's name was and that woman who came up to us. I wouldn't have remembered that if we hadn't just read it.
So I wrote this trip report. I always was exceptionally detailed. These little tiny things, I think I wrote them down because I knew I would never remember them, but as an adult, I can read back on them and see what they were.
So I went through the first like introduction to this trip report and Jess wrote the flight number, the time our flight was, the gate number, our seat numbers, the type of food we ate for breakfast at the airport. And it was just so precious. And we keep saying that's so pure, but really like
it is.
This was high school for us. And when you consider like some people's high school experiences, we really did have one where we just fed off each other's energy and love for Disney. And we really were just having a great time talking about Disney and blogging about Disney and going to Disney. Engaging with this community was like this exciting thing that consumed our free time.
It was so much fun. Shall we head on to the next chapter?
Let's head on to the next one. So this next chapter comes from a trip later in 2011. In August of 2011, Kristen, was at Walt Disney World with my family, and Jess and our friend Nat decided to come down and surprise me. I had no idea that it was happening. Jess was coordinating it with my mom. My sister had no idea they were coming down. Nobody else knew except my mom. She was really great at keeping it a secret. They showed up and I had no clue. And I was so excited. This was also the summer right before Jess was going to college. So it was a really hard summer for me because I'm 2 years younger than she is. And I was still going to be in high school. And I couldn't imagine our high school without her because she was my other half and I was her shadow. So it was really hard for me, and this was just exactly the medicine I needed to help me get through that time.
And I have to say that was probably the most successful surprise I've ever pulled off in my entire life.
Yes. I love that. So this chapter comes from that trip.
Written by Jess, read by Kristen.
It's chapter 4, Mission, Surprise the Frump. August 19th, 2011. It was time to put our plan into action. We have been waiting for this moment for months now, and this was it. We caught the bus to Magic Kingdom at the El Centro bus stop. The bus was there, so we ran right on, and we were on our way. Kristen had dinner at Ohana that night at 5 p.m. However, her meal took a very long time, so she ended up just arriving at Magic Kingdom just a little bit before we got there. Once we got on the bus, I texted Kristen's mom and told her we were coming. We arrived at the Magic Kingdom, But we didn't know exactly where to go because we had to wait for a text response. We had to be very discreet, especially because we were near the monorail. You never know, she could be on it at any time. We had to hide just to make sure we were safe. After waiting a few minutes before entering the Magic Kingdom, we got our text back from Sue and we headed in. We went straight to the Town Square meet and greet building and it was crowded. As you remember from my pre-trip report, we wanted to surprise Kristen by being in the room with Mickey Mouse when she walked in there. Oh, really?
I guess so.
I don't remember you telling me that.
Remember that.
However, I kind of forgot to take into account that the lines might be long, and of course, that's what ended up happening. Shoot. Okay, so it was time for Plan B. We didn't have a Plan B.
Thinking on our feet there.
The good thing about the Town Square building is that it's just this big open indoor room. Since it was dark out, we wanted to be somewhere where we could film the surprise. So we decided, let's just stay in here and have them pretend to go meet Mickey. But really, they'd be coming to meet us. We found a cast member. I think his name was Steve. And we asked him if he would videotape us. Hi. Our friend is on vacation with her family and she has no idea we're here right now. Do you think you could do us a favor and videotape her reaction? She might scream, just so you know. But we'd really appreciate it. He was slightly confused, but he said yes. He also said that he wasn't very good at videotaping. Just what I need when I'm making a movie out of this thing.
Oh my God.
But he did a good job. And he was cute. So that was just a lovely bonus.
Oh my Lord.
Maybe it was yours, Steven.
In my heart, obviously. I'm actually glad I wrote this down because I had no idea who filmed it. Like,
really?
I was watching it back and I was like, who was filming this for us?
That's funny.
Like, thanks, Steve. Appreciate you.
Meanwhile, Kristen's mom directed the family into the Emporium. I like that, directed the family. If you've ever met my mom.
She's the matriarch of their family.
I come from a very matriarchal family. Directed the family into the Emporium so they could shop for a while, quote unquote. While browsing around, she told Kristen and Sarah that she wanted to go check out the new Mickey Mouse greeting area. Kristen, of course, didn't want to go. She was wearing her poncho. Her hair was in a frump. Not a frump-do. You just wrote her hair. Her hair was in a frump.
Frump-do is our term for a bun on the top of your head.
If you watched the Frumpiness Begins tour, which we will link in the show notes, that Jess and I made last summer, I give you a very detailed, in the dark at Epcot tutorial about how to create your very own frump-do. It takes about 2 seconds, which is great because a lot of us don't have a lot of time to invest in our hair every day. So her hair was in a frump and she was not in the mood to take a picture. Sarah agreed with her. I had a feeling that sort of thing would happen.
Of course I did.
Sue just told them, let's go. Kristen really didn't want to, so she tried to walk in the other direction. I'm just like,
wow, you're stubborn.
The most stubborn. However, her mom wouldn't stop going towards Town Square. Kristen had an idea that something was up, but she didn't want to get her heart set on anything because she thought that her mind was just playing tricks on her. Okay, so yeah, it's not like my mom to instigate the meeting of the characters moment. That's usually something my sister or I would do. So I was like, okay, what's going on? I didn't have any idea that it was something like this, but I think in my head I was like, clearly she's trying to like get us to do something else. Like this can't be what's actually happening. So Kristen finally gave in and followed her mom. And from across the street, she saw a girl who looked like me, Jess, with long dark brown hair, wearing a lime green t-shirt and a white headband, which is a similar outfit of what I wear to work. She thought, no, it can't be. She saw another girl standing next to the girl who looked like me, and she thought it was my mom. But then she thought, no, that's too short to be her. So she kept walking, and she went faster and faster because she really thought that she saw us. It really clicked in her mind, so she started running, and when she saw us, she just screamed. She ran up and gave us huge hugs. I thought I was going to be knocked over.
Why am I tearing up right now? This is so cute.
And said, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, about 1,000,000 times. Kristen was so incredibly surprised. She really had no idea. I mean, who was crazy enough to do something like that anyway?
Me.
She was so, yes. She was so overwhelmed, she just had to sit down. I would have too. That's like a giant shock. We were all so excited, and we were so happy that it actually worked. She had no idea, but everything started clicking once we were there. All of these random things we said or did over the summer finally made sense. Yeah, I remember you being like, like vague about like your plans for the end of the summer and stuff. And I was like, why is she being weird? And then Nat was like, oh, I don't know. But I remember being like, what is happening?
We're so tricky.
And yeah, I remember, that's so funny that I read that, but I remember looking and being like, that looks like a Jess outfit. And then I remember thinking maybe it was like the wavy hair or something, but I thought Nat was your mom.
I
And
forgot
I was like,
about
she's
that.
short. And then I was like, wait. And then I think that's when it really started to click. Okay. Kristen asked us where we were staying, what floor we were on, where we were eating, etc. It was super exciting. Literally 10 minutes before, she had no idea this sort of wrench was going to be thrown into her vacation. She thought that it was a dream. Nope, it was real life. We're in Disney together. Ah!
That's how it's written out in all caps.
That's how it's written. I had to read it that way.
Lots of exclamation marks.
In other news, if you've recently written a book and you'd like me to narrate it on Audible, I am available. So, overall, I have to say that Mission Surprise the Frump was a complete success. Kristen was absolutely oblivious to the whole thing, and thanks to my sneaky planning skills, we actually pulled it off. Best surprise ever. Thank you, Mother, for all of your help. Is that my mother or your mother? I'm assuming
Probably
my mother.
both.
Okay. We left the building and the Main Street Electrical Parade was just beginning. We stood around so we could watch it. However, we were so excited that we just couldn't stop talking. The poor people in front of us probably wanted to hit us upside the heads. But hey, we just went through a major ordeal over here. Please excuse the frumps. All right, so basically, the frumps were back in Disney. The surprise was a success, and we were ready to go. That's it.
I think that was fun to have you read it because we were surprising you,
Yeah.
even though it was written from my perspective. So that was really fun to relive. Again, so many details that I totally forgot about.
Yeah, it was
And-
fun for me reading it. I mean, I'm sure I read this chapter like when you posted it originally, but after all these years, like reading your perspective on it, because obviously I didn't come in until much later. So like reading about the anticipation was fun.
It's super emotional. Like, that's such a pure friendship moment. I'm so glad I have so many details of it documented because, again, here we are talking about it 10 years later.
And I would just like to express how thankful I am to have people who go to such great lengths to surprise me, especially as teenagers. Like, you don't necessarily think of high school friendships as like being rooted in something real and lasting necessarily. Like, I think our situation is very unique, but in the introduction of the Bathrobe Princess one, you were like introducing me to the trip report and you were like, basically, Kristen and I were just destined to be friends. And here we are 10 years later doing this podcast together. And now I'm emo.
That's wild. I think we just knew this whole time.
So we wanted to choose a third chapter that maybe contained a less iconic happening, you know, no running around in bathrobes or surprising people in the middle of the Magic Kingdom. But we wanted to choose a chapter to react to that just from the title alone reminded us of the frumpiest day ever. And our love for Disney and our willingness to sacrifice all sleep in the name of the extra magic hour. So this is also from that same summer 2011 trip, chapter 21, Cinnamon Rolls, Extra Frumpy Hours, and MICKEYFRUMP. August 21st, 2011. The extra magic hours just kept continuing. We headed to Liberty Square next to take a ride on the Haunted Mansion. You know, in that first room with the door knockers and that red chair that looks like it has a face on it and the wallpaper that has eyes? Well, that whole entire scene reminds me of VMK. How many of you guys used to play that a couple years ago? That was my favorite thing in the whole entire world. I am still heartbroken over the fact that they closed it.
Oh my goodness.
For those of you that don't know, VMK was Virtual Magic Kingdom, and it was basically exactly what it sounds like. It was the Magic Kingdom online, with games, merchandise to collect, rooms to design, etc. It was the best thing ever created. I wish it was still open.
Guys, if you played VMK, let me know. That was one of the highlights of my childhood. They created this online multiplayer game for Disneyland's 50th anniversary and fully designed everything to be so intricately Disney. They had all these different rooms based on all these different attractions and themed lands, and they had games, and it was seriously phenomenal. Like, this is from 2005, and I'm still passionately talking about it in 2020, so clearly it made an impact. But yeah, if you played VMK and you got really into it, you know how special it was, and I still miss it to this day.
I think it's so crazy that it was for Disneyland's 50th and we're about to be at Walt Disney World's 50th.
I know. I love VMK until the day that I die. I hope in heaven I get to play VMK again.
So anyways, my point is that every time I go through that scene, I always reminisce about VMK and the whole Haunted Mansion area. It was really spectacular. The details were phenomenal, and it was just Disney all over the place all the time. I can't even get over how great it was. Why did it close? Anyways, enough about me yearning for my long gone childhood.
Wow.
We enjoyed the Haunted Mansion as per usual, and I am still amazed by those cool new hitchhiking ghosts. I love them. After visiting the 999 happy haunts, we were ready to move on. Well, me, Nat, and Kristen were. Sue, Scott, and Sarah decided to head back for the night. We said goodnight and parted ways. Our next stop was Splash Mountain! Hooray, hooray, hooray! I'm telling you, though, the whole time we were there, this ride was in rough shape. We noticed a number of things that were just broken down. For example, some of the lights in the first scene were off. The water was not jumping in the laughing place scene. The vultures were not talking. And most importantly, the bird was dead! Oh my gosh.
Wow, we were really detail-oriented.
I'm so glad they're reimagining this attraction. There was a photo included wherein Jess circled the bird animatronics that seemed deceased.
Unfortunately, we used Image Shack to host all of our pictures back in 2011, and they no longer show up in these trip reports. However, I could imagine what it looked like.
Yes. That's what I yelled when I saw this horrid sight. Actually, multiple birds were dead, aka not moving and just lying there with their little tambourines. They missed out on the best sing-along in the history of all time. I can see the headlines now. The bird flu invades Splash Mountain.
This is so dramatic.
No.
That's hilarious.
Back when people were scared about the bird flu.
What a different time.
Now we're scared about a different virus. Overall, these animals were not in tip-top condition. However, we loved the ride anyway. We had a great time, and for this ride photo, we decided to praise the Lord! Splash. I know, we're nuts. I'm reading that. That's not an ad-lib. Is it just funny. Me, or does it seem like you don't get as wet on Splash Mountain anymore? I used to remember getting soaked, and now I barely get water on me. Even when I sit in the front. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Which, honestly, I kind of like.
I feel like nowadays we're like, this is a good thing.
Yeah.
But at the time we were like, rip off. After our lovely ride, we went through the Laugh and Place gift shop. Good night to all of the Splash Mountain characters. We decided it was time to start making our way towards the exit. We took a few pictures on our way out. However, we were not leaving yet. Oh no. We had a very important mission to accomplish.
Here we go.
Getting a cinnamon roll from the Main Street Bakery. My very first one ever.
All right, Jess is taking over because this was monumental. We walked in and I was pretty much jumping out of my skin. I was so excited. I walked right up to the counter and ordered my cinnamon roll. Finally, the time had come. The cast member that helped us was named David, and he was a French boy. Apparently, even though I was a total frump, Kristen and Nat claimed that David was checking me out the whole time.
So, Kristen here. It's true. First of all, I would like to comment that the secret to happiness and joy in this life is to get this excited about things as small as cinnamon rolls. Like, this is why Jess and I are the way we are. We allow ourselves to get extremely excited over small things. Secondly, this French boy was very taken with Jess. He was trying to separate the little plastic trays, and he was getting very fumbly and jumbled, and he was blushing, and he got very nervous. And we're not really sure if it's because he was scared of her excitement,
which is highly possible,
or just so taken with her beauty, or maybe it was both. Maybe he was just like, you scare me, but I think I like you.
Oh my goodness.
The good news is we got the cinnamon roll.
Anyway, moving on. LOL, my French boy. So that was a recurring joke of the night, especially considering how tired we were. Obviously, I was a little too wrapped up in the moment to notice such things, but we grabbed a little table right in the middle of the bakery and devoured the cinnamon roll, but not before some food pictures. Woo! It was so good. It was a little dry on the bottom, but the middle was divine. I want another one. Yum.
R.I.P. to the Main Street Bakery.
I know. Remember when you could sit in there? Now it's a Starbucks, which I'm not mad about, but I am mad they took away the cinnamon rolls. And the ones at Gaston's are not as good.
I don't think they're as good either.
They're a lot drier. Anyway, even after a loaf of my Kona bread that I had at dinner, I devoured this whole thing. Wow, your girl was on some carbs that day.
You really did, though, because I didn't eat any of it, and I think Nat had like a bite or two. I'm so impressed.
I'm a champion. Anything made out of bread is probably just my favorite food in the world. No big deal.
It's true. Our diet was like 90% carbs in this season of life.
Yeah, I mean, I still passionately love carbs. I'm not gonna lie. So anyway, so we sat in the bakery for a long time. We were eating, laughing, videotaping, and being deliriously tired. It was one of those moments where you just love life because nothing can get better than that. Sitting with your two best friends in Disney World, eating delicious food, and capturing it all on tape. Like, really, that's when you know life's good. Oh, that's really precious.
It is really precious.
We laughed and laughed and laughed. I tried to see if David would look at me again if I were to just go get a water. However, he was gone by the time I got up.
Oh, he got that bump out.
Dang, I always miss these things. I'm so oblivious to the world sometimes. I think I was astounded at the fact that a boy liked me, which is really funny. But he really could have been scared of me too, so...
It's a healthy fear.
You know, we went to an all-girls school, so I think this was just like really groundbreaking information. So anyway, after a good while, we decided it was time to go. We had to get up early the next morning, so we got up from the table, and out of nowhere, Kristen just snorted so loud. And I thought it was the funniest thing of my life. I was so tired. Seriously. So I basically just sat down and sat there for 5 minutes straight laughing so hard I was crying. I love laughing that hard. It hasn't happened in oh so long. But anyways, yeah, that was really funny. And this was probably one of the top frumpiest nights that Disney World has ever seen. No big deal. Do you want to do the rest?
Sure.
Okay. Switching back to Kristen.
Once I calmed down a bit, we headed out and frumped it down Main Street to the exit with a capital E. On the way out, a cast member had bubbles. I got super excited all over again. I love bubbles.
I miss being this pure. I mean, I'm still pretty excitable, but
this is inside you.
Yeah, it's true.
We thanked her for adding that extra bit of magic to our night, and then we made it to the turnstiles, only to realize that Kristen had to pee. So what do? We headed back into the Magic Kingdom. We just can't leave this place. We went to the bathroom and then headed back to the exit. So after all that, Kristen had this revelation. She asked, what if there was Kristen's Frumpar magic? We thought that was pretty funny. We exited the Magic Kingdom once again, and this time we really did leave. On our way out, the Mickey Mouse Club March was playing, and we realized that Mouse and Frump have the same number of letters to them. So I bet you can guess where this was headed. We began to sing.
MICKEYFRUMP.
It was bound to happen at some point. Who are we kidding? Then Kristen's idea came back to her.
Oh my goodness.
This is always dangerous. So she began a long list of ideas where the word frump could be substituted for part of an attraction's name. For example, Frumpedition Everest, Frumpo.
That's Dumbo.
Oh, I was like, what? Frumparella's Castle, etc. There was definitely like Muppet Vision 3D was like Frumper Vision 3D.
Big Frumper Mountain for Big Thunder Mountain.
Gosh, that's good. I 100% swear that we are not 5 years old. Like as if a 5-year-old would be typing this trip report. Just so you know, I'm not a freakishly intelligent and advanced 5-year-old. And we were not under the influence of any alcohol whatsoever. That's true.
That is very
Full
true.
disclaimer, Jess and I were not interested in any of those kinds of things when we were in high school and even like into college. This just happens at 1 a.m. during extra magic hours when you're running on no sleep and are full of cinnamon roll goodness.
It might have been a sugar high.
Sugar high, Disney high, life high. However, us frumps were petering out at this point. The bus took about 10 to 15 minutes to arrive. They sent one of the old buses with orange seats to pick us up. Wow. It was weird. It felt like I was transported back into the 90s. Here comes my childhood flashbacks again. We had to stand, too, which is always quite tiring. The ride seemed to take a long time, but we were back in the room and asleep by 2 a.m. Not too bad. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
I'm tired. We had another big day coming up tomorrow.
I feel like those 3 entries were phenomenal choices. I hope that for those of you who are listening that used to read these trip reports on the DISboards enjoyed having them narrated by us. This is the first time we've ever done this. I don't think we've actually sat and read trip reports together. We've watched old trip videos, but we've never done this. So
yeah, that was very nostalgic. And I think reading it so many years later, I get why people thought this was funny and like fun. Like I get it now. That's hilarious. How ridiculous and fun were we? Like I'm reading it and I'm like, oh, I want to like be friends with old us.
I know.
We sound fun.
We were really cute. We were just so content and happy and really loving life and living in the moment. I like to channel that as much as I can in the present day, even though so much has happened since then. Just to have that and to have that in writing, to go back to it and transport yourself back to it is something really special.
This is such a great reminder of the true spirit of us 10 years ago, because we can read it in our own words and like our own thoughts and our own quotes and everything. So it's so good to remind yourself of that time of life and that positive energy and that joy is still inside you and that you can recall that whenever you need to. For those of you who weren't reading these a decade ago and haven't been around for all these years, we hope you still found it entertaining and a little ridiculous, but basically that is the essence of being frumpy.
These are live journals or live diaries of our life back then. So, you know, if you became friends with us in more present times, now you know a deeper layer to both of us, which I think is pretty cool.
Which is what we are trying to bring together in this beautiful collision of a podcast. So before we wrap it up, if you did read the trip reports back in the day, you would know that at the beginning of each report, we did a little introduction to ourselves and we would include some favorites. We would do a little blurb about who we were, how we were friends, and some favorite parks, restaurants, attractions, etc. So we wanted to read our favorites from January 2011 and see if any of them are still relevant today. So we'll start with Jess's favorites.
Yes. All right. So I wrote down in 2011, my favorite theme park was the Magic Kingdom. My favorite counter service restaurant was Pizzafari and Casey's Corner. My favorite table service restaurant was the Garden Grill. My favorite ride was Expedition Everest. My favorite Disney characters were Pluto, Aladdin, and Jasmine. My favorite Disney movies were Aladdin, Little Mermaid, and Peter Pan. And my favorite Disney songs were I Just Can't Wait to Be King and A Whole New World. So, in the 2020 version, my favorite theme park is Epcot. My favorite counter service restaurants, oh God, that's hard. Satuli Canteen is coming to mind. And, oh, I know, it's the Mara at Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Yes.
So then favorite table service restaurant in the current day is Via Napoli. Second place, Sanaa at Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge. Favorite ride, that's a tricky one. Overall, I would say Jungle Cruise, but that's at Disneyland. Magic Kingdom, The People Mover. Epcot, Soarin'. Hollywood Studios, Toy Story Mania. And Animal Kingdom still would be Expedition Everest. I can't pick one, sorry. Favorite Disney characters, I would still say Jasmine is up there for me, and Aladdin too. Also adding in Moana and Pluto. Yeah, he's still up there.
Oh, he's an OG for you.
Yeah, for sure. Favorite Disney movies, still Aladdin, adding in Moana and Frozen 2. And then favorite Disney songs, A Whole New World definitely still is up there. Where You Are from Moana. And then also Frozen 2 soundtrack in general. I think it's my favorite. Yeah, I think a lot of my favorites now are things that didn't exist back in 2011. But some of them are still consistent, which is pretty fun.
So for anyone that knows me, you know that I'm really bad at picking favorites.
Me too, clearly.
This original list is a little ridiculous. My 15-year-old self really couldn't narrow things down, and my 25-year-old self can't either. So In January of 2011, my favorite theme park was Magic Kingdom. My favorite counter service restaurants were Cosmic Rays, Starlight Cafe, Casey's Corner, and Pizzafari. My favorite table service restaurants were Kona, Garden Grill, and Crystal Palace. My favorite rides were Splash Mountain, Soarin', and Toy Story Mania. My favorite Disney characters were Mary Poppins, Ariel, and Prince Eric, Peter Pan, Eeyore, and Alice. Okay. My favorite Disney movies were Toy Story, Aladdin, Peter Pan, The Little Mermaid, Piglet's Big Movie, and Mary Poppins.
My favorite is Piglet's Big Movie from that list.
What? I must have been having like a moment. I probably like watched it that day and I was like, oh, I'm still feeling emotional from this one. So here. And favorite Disney songs. One Jump Ahead, You Can Fly, Under the Sea, I Just Can't Wait to Be King, Just Around the River Bend, Hawaiian Roller Coaster Ride, Jolly Holiday, and Never Had a Friend Like Me. What? Too much, Kristen. Rein it in. Okay, so 2020, Kristen is going to try to rein it in. Favorite theme park as of 2020, definitely Epcot. Favorite counter service restaurant, I would totally agree with Satuli Canteen. I love that place. I really love the Tangerine Cafe at Morocco at Epcot, and I also love the Mara as well at Animal Kingdom Lodge. That's definitely a certain type of food that I seem to be just a fan of over here in 2020. I think our palates have definitely grown. Favorite table service restaurants, Boma. For those of you who've been around for a while, you know about my Boma coma. Hashtag Boma coma. And Sanaa. I really love Tep and Edo at Epcot too. Favorite ride, I love Haunted Mansion, and I still actually really do love Soarin', so I'd probably say that those two are favorites. Favorite Disney characters, I still love Mary Poppins, and of course Ariel and Prince Eric. I will love forever and ever. I would add Belle and Beast to that list. Tiana, and I think Moana and Moana's grandma. I just love her. Favorite Disney movies. Mary Poppins, Always and Forever, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and Frozen 2. I know, like, so much love for Frozen 2. I just love it so much more than I've loved a Disney movie in a really long time. And then as far as my weird Piglet's Big Movie swerve, I just love Winnie the Pooh. I love those characters. The Winnie the Pooh movie that came out in 2011 is my sisters and my, like, one of our all-time favorite movies. We went to see it with Jess at the drive-in for the first time in 2011, and we quote that movie more than anything else. It is hysterical. So I would definitely add that and maybe the live-action Christopher Robin film. And then as far as favorite Disney songs go, I honestly don't think I can narrow this down even now. Like, I totally understand how 10 years ago me couldn't do it, but I would agree with Jess on the entire Frozen 2 soundtrack. My favorite songs from that one are Lost in the Woods and Show Yourself. Show Yourself to me is like the spiritual awakening that I needed when that film came out. And I love You Know Who You Are from Moana when she's singing to Tefiti at the end, and anything from the Little Mermaid Broadway musical too. Those are my updated favorites. I'm still bad at narrowing it down.
This episode was so much fun. I love doing a reflection episode, especially because we have such a deep history together and with Disney. Just during this crazy year, it's fun to tap into those nostalgic and more innocent moments of our lives. So this was amazing. Thank you so much, Kelly, for this recommendation and this idea. If you guys ever have ideas of episodes you want us to create, please send us a DM or answer a question box when we post it on our story asking for recommendations. You guys just have brilliant ideas that we can make some magic out of.
Creativity is definitely a group effort. So we love bouncing ideas off each other, but we love when you guys bring your ideas to the table as well. And then we just run with it and see what happens with it. And this was so much fun and really nostalgic for us and definitely brought us a lot of joy today. So we hope that it brought you some laughs and some joy as well. So thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. We will see you next Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of ReDIScover.
Please subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening. Your reviews are what keep us going, and we'd love to hear from you.
Join us every Tuesday for a new conversation and let us know what you think we should talk about next.
Follow us on Instagram at positively.kristen and at jessicafay508. And check out Jess's blog at theroadjesstraveled with 1l.com.
Until next time,
Stay frumpy.